we all know traveling is fun. And it is inspiring, it's chaotic, it's exciting, it's adventurous. Yeah, sometimes you also do some stupid shit. And yeah, sometimes life is changing just because you travel. But moving to another country, well, that's a whole new story, different game, end boss, whatever. So, whether you move abroad for love, or for a colleague, for career, or you're just be bored at home, who knows? Like, whatever the reason is, it sounds like an adventure. And it is. It's like, yeah, leaving the place you know where you may be born, or just leaving your comfort zone is always brave. It feels exciting, it feels like a fresh new start. But on the other side, let us not lie to ourselves, because yeah, moving somewhere else and starting a new life somewhere else is also deeply conflicting. And I mean, sure, you have this fantasy version of moving abroad and you land in a new country. Like, you suddenly have the feeling you become cooler, you become hotter, you become more interesting. And you basically feel like maybe like the main character of a movie, which is kind of good, don't get me wrong. But yeah, maybe sometimes it gets a little bit too delusional. So the reality actually about moving abroad also contains, next to like your delusional, like, hey, everything becomes so much better, it also contains the thoughts of, hey, will I like it here? Will I find friends? Was it the right thing to do? And yeah, sometimes you may find yourself on a random Tuesday evening having a mental breakdown on your bed, crying, and you're just questioning yourself, why did I do that? And yeah, the reason I want to talk about this topic, is because, yeah, I traveled for quite a while, as you might know from previous episodes. And then a little bit over a year now ago, I started a new life in Japan. To be more specific, Tokyo. I wanted to live here, I wanted to study here, I wanted to work, and yeah, somehow it's already been a year. Time flies, it's crazy! Whatever. And yes, it has been a great experience. It was a really good one. I love it. It's one of my favorite things I did so far. But I also don't want to over-romanticize it too much, Because if you're planning to move somewhere else, and you set your expectations too high, and to over-romanticize everything, that everything will be better, cooler, whatever, well, you basically set yourself up for disappointment. Like, honestly, like, for me, I also felt like, oh yeah, Japan will be the country I want to grow old. Like, that was before I started living here for a year. And I really wanted to be here because I thought, everything is so much better. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you move somewhere else, don't have your, like, expectations too high, because you just settle yourself up for disappointment, as I said. So, yeah, because part of the reality, honestly, is as well, I mean, it's probably also the price you have to pay when you're deciding to have a new beginning, to start somewhere new, is that is going to be hard. It will be fucking hard, to be actually very specific. I mean, you will be sad sometimes, and you will feel lonely for sure at some point. And yeah, you will question yourself. Yes. And even though I really love Japan, I mean, there were definitely moments where I thought, like, was that really a good idea to come here? Like, why? And I mean, there's nothing wrong with questioning your stuff. It's just showing that you're going through a process, which is kind of good. I mean, character development, yeah! And I think we don't talk about this enough in society and our daily life. we act like if something is right, it should feel right immediately. But that's not true. I mean, come on. Sometimes the right thing still feels very uncomfortable and maybe even like hell in the beginning. And then after a while, once you get adapted to everything new, you feel like, hey, that was the right thing to do. But it was not, it didn't feel right at the beginning. You know what I mean? So, I mean, moving to a new city, a new country, a new place, whatever, is difficult for literally everyone. And people who say, it was so easy, they're lying. I mean, come on, no. Because moving to a new city, a new country, or wherever, it is difficult for literally everyone. And the reason is simple. Because it completely destroys your routine, your sense of stability, and everything that used to feel normal, you know? It's not just a change of location. No, you basically have to start at 0. I mean, searching new friends, searching for a new job, a new environment, your new favorite coffee shop, it takes a while. And sometimes this is the reason why it feels exhausting mentally when you move somewhere else. And I mean, it is a challenge. And here I have to say, solo travel prepares you for some of that. Not everything, but like in general, I would say there's a very big difference between solo traveling and moving somewhere abroad by yourself. So, when you travel and you do not like a place, you leave. You just leave. You'll be like, yeah, okay, I'm out, whatever. And that is, I think, the beauty of solo traveling, to be honest. You can just go, like, bad hostel? Yeah, goodbye. Weird city? Goodbye. Or weird people, not your vibe? Yeah, bye-bye. So easy, right? But when you move somewhere else, for work, for study, for whatever, you cannot just run away every time you get like you feel uncomfortable or the whole situation gets uncomfortable, because otherwise you would probably run a lot. Maybe a good preparation for your next marathon. You don't know that you're gonna do it, but yeah, maybe that's the preparation. Anyways, so you actually have to stay. You have to stay in like a setting which is maybe at the beginning a little bit uncomfortable, but you have to face it. And building something new from the beginning is hard. Yeah, it's really hard. And I mean, solo traveling teaches you how to survive the unknown, you know? And moving abroad teaches you how to live in the unknown. No? And that part can be sometimes very hard and brutal and discouraging, whatever. And another point I want to point out here, especially if you move somewhere where you don't speak the language yet. Oh my gosh, you're gonna choose like next level and boss. And yeah, normal life is not an easy task anymore. No. Everything feels like low key confusion. So I don't understand. And yeah, speaking of that, here in Japan, well, my Japanese, as I said, is even after learning it for a year, it's far away from being fluent, but whatever. But one thing I have to say here about the situation, paperwork, oh my gosh, it's horrible. It's hell. The bureaucracy becomes literally your enemy here, especially in Japan. And I mean, I don't know how it feels in other countries and how it is, but in Japan, it feels like the bureaucracy got frozen in 1919 and everyone just agreed to keep it that way because, yeah, why changing a running system, right? Yeah. So you have to go for literally everything to the office. You have to be there in person. You have to do paperwork. You have to fill out all the documents. It's crazy. And Since I'm not speaking very well, yes, I feel like, okay, let's go. Whatever. Okay. So, it can be a lot. And for a lot of people, like, there's a feeling of homesickness rising. And I get it. Don't, like, honestly, don't feel bad. I think it's very normal because if you have to burden a lot of things by yourself, it's just, like, overwhelming, maybe. And the thing is, once you move somewhere new, you don't have, like, a strong support system right away. Because usually you go to a place, you do not have 10 close friends already, and you also do not have a full routine. So, as I said, you have to start from zero, and it can be really tough and really lonely, and sometimes maybe also discouraging because you feel like, I had it all back home. Why did I move? So, this is a thing where it's weirdly that solo traveling and moving abroad is like overlapping again, because both things force you to spend a lot of time with yourself, where you have to go outside of your comfort zone, you have to question yourself. It's really, really important. It's really, really helpful. And suddenly there will also be the question, like, it's like not, what should I eat today? It's more getting more deeper, like, hey, I'm alone. What do I really want in life? Why did I choose to stay in the city? What was my reasoning for it? And this is the part which is actually really challenging, and it's hard. And a lot of people struggle with it a little bit because, sometimes you don't know. Sometimes it's just like, I did it because I felt like it. It can hit very hard. I mean, moving to a new place, it forces an identity reset, and whether you like it or not, you will have it. So in your old life, you know who you are, you know what you're doing, because you're constantly being reflected, like your identity is constantly being reflected back to you, so people know your stories, they know your habits, they know your jokes, they know a lot, and you don't have to explain yourself. But if you move abroad and moving to a new place, there is no confirmation because no one knows you, and you can literally be whoever you want to be. And I mean, it's super nice and freeing on one side, but on the other side, it's also like, who am I actually? So it can be also a little bit tough. So it can be also terrifying, because maybe you discover something about yourself where you be like, oh. And I had the feeling the first time when I get to New Zealand, and I felt like, holy crap, there's a lot to work on. So you really need to know who you are, and because like you live with yourself for 24/7, and sometimes if you don't know what you want, difficult. But yeah, this is a good part about moving abroad. You spend so much time with yourself and you figure out a lot, which is kind of good. It's really nice. And of course, it's like moving abroad is very intense. I mean, it's like not just like a change of location, it's also, as I said, an internal confrontation with your who am I, And now, if you ask me, hey, when does it feel better? When do I feel like I really can call this new place my home? What is happening? How long does it take? The answer is, it depends. I know, it's not really satisfying, right? But to be honest, there's no real clean timeline. So, no magical date where you suddenly feel, oh yeah, everything is great now, and I become stable, and everything is good. No, I think, generally speaking, you have to give it time. In real time. And not just like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Like, no, I think, honestly, if you really feel if the place is for you or not, you can say it after 90 days. Why 90 days? Well, recently I read an article that it basically took really 90 days to form a habit and to constantly do the new habit. So I feel like moving abroad is kind of a new habit, right? So you have to figure out everything by yourself, and you maybe get in your new routine, like going to work, going to school, whatever, and going to sports events, like all these things. And I think once it's settled, so maybe after 90 days, you can really feel like, is it my cup of tea, or should I just not? Should I just leave it? And I think it's important. It's important to give it time, because honestly, if I'm really honest here, like when I went to New Zealand for solo traveling and it was not moving abroad, I wanted to go back home after 2 weeks, because I had so many bad experiences in the beginning, and I felt like, oh, why did I do that? And I can imagine that a lot of people will have this question too when they move abroad, but give it time. Don't book right away, like your flight back home or your train back home. Just give it time. And for me right now, actually, when it comes to Japan, I would say around 6 months into being here, I felt like, okay, yeah, I'm adapting to everything here, to the routines, and yeah, I love it. But I also figured out after 6 months, kind of, that I do not want to stay here forever. And that does not mean the experience has failed, and it does also not mean that it was a mistake. No, I think a place can be right for a chapter, but it doesn't necessarily need to be right for the whole book, so for your whole life. So you need to understand that you can usually always change your decision. So having some meaningful experience does not mean, like in one place, does not mean that you make it permanent and that you have to stay there forever if it doesn't feel it's you, like you. For me in Japan, like as I said, it took something around 6 months. I got used to a lot. Like I got my routines, had my sports, I have my friends, and I also made it back home without using Google Maps. And trust me, guys, this is something crazy in Japan, especially when you have to go through Shinjuku Station. And yeah, I just understand why people search this connection and like this stability, because, yeah, if you think about it in a biologically way, the brain searches for connection, and when something is safe, if you have your routines, it means like it's stable, and if it's stable, it's also kind of safe, and there is no threat, no enemy, because there's not like something which is unpredictable. And I mean, of course, we're not living in a jungle anymore and stuff, but routines just make you feel safe enough to actually also then enjoy your life, I'd